budget revolver versus expensive revolver.
Let's get ready to rumble!
As many of you guys know, I love a good wheel gun. This is my Smith & Wesson 686. I've owned this thing for the better part of a decade. TK Custom has gone through this thing, hand-fitted everything. Everything is stoned nice and smooth. The action on this thing is ridiculously sweet. They cut the cylinder for moon clips, so I've got a whole stack of moon clips. Makes this thing really easy to load and unload. Now, a buddy of mine sent me a text with a picture of 2 of these. And he says, hey man, I've got a couple of these SAR USA SR38s. If you'd like to try them, I could get one in your hands for a little while. And of course, I am just a pushover when it comes to test driving any gun for free. So this SAR USA SR38, as soon as I got this thing in my hands, as soon as it hit the FFL and I went down there and picked it up, I said, dude, this thing is very much L-frame. And that's why I just instantly thought of the 686. I mean, you could just look at them side by side. They're both 4-inch, they're both full underlug, they're both 6-shooters. Everything about them dimensionally is the same, they feel the same. This one has got a conversion grip, but once you take this grip off, it is very much round butt. Of course, this one, I've got a set of Altamonts, and I left it round butt. So when you grab this thing, and you go from gun to gun, it is very much the same. I mean, you could tell the difference because of the rubber grip naturally. So what I wanted to do is take and pit them head to head. Of course, we've got budget revolver versus expensive revolver. There is a solid somewhere around $1,000 to $1,100 difference between the 2 of these. I think these are supposed to be like 6, and of course this one starts right at, I think the MSRP is $959 plus all of the sweet freaking handwork that has been done to it. So there is a massive difference between these 2. So I took these things to a local match. Every second Saturday they have a backup gun match. The qualifications are 4 inches or less in barrel length. For these matches, they changed everything up every time, so I went up there with those wheel guns, and I really did not know what to expect. This time, it was a steel match, and I had a really, really dadgum good time. But what I wound up doing was I swapped guns in between matches. So I would do a stage, swap gun. Do a stage, swap gun. And to keep from making the ROs mad, the range officers, which they are real sticklers for safety, and I very much appreciate that. I went to my truck. My truck was parked farther away from everybody else, all the way at the back. I'd go to my truck and swap guns. Now, these guns are so similar, like I mentioned earlier, that they fit the same holster. Of course, they took the same ammo, though I had no problem swapping guns between stages. So the first stage was 5 knockdown targets. You could have 5 bullets in the gun and 5 targets, and you had to shoot them from either side of barricade. So you had to do 3 on one side, 2 on the other side. So I hit the first target, and instantly a big old chunk of lead came back and smacked me in my dadgum lip, knocked me off my concentration. Let's get through making excuses. I missed the second target, and then went ahead and cleaned the 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Stand by.
Then it was time to go on to the second stage. This stage I had the SAR SR38, and this stage was meant to be 3 targets strong hand and 2 targets weak hand. Now what was cool about this is I actually used the single action. My Smith & Wesson, the expensive one, no longer has the single action.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
Stand by. So clear. Close it up and holster. Range is clear. 1294. Who's my shooter?
Then went on to the next stage. The next stage you had to be seated. So you had to draw from concealment seated, and you had to hit the poppers. And what was hilarious about these poppers is those targets are angled down. That way they deflect projectiles. Any spalling goes down instead of back at people. So a lot of the guys that were shooting 9mm, which dominates that class, absolutely dominates that class, a lot of the guys didn't have enough power. Now what you're going to notice is out of that Smith & Wesson with that 357, I had no problem flipping them over.
Gun down, stand up, unload, show clear. Close it up and hold it. Range is clear. 946 clean. Get you.
Here we have both of them on the table. This is your Smith & Wesson 686. This is the non-budget offering. And then this is your SAR SR38. This is the budget offering. Both of these are made of stainless steel. Of course, this one's got the high luster because it's a little more expensive. This one is just matte stainless. I kind of like that because it's not as flashy. You know, sometimes you want to be flashy, sometimes you don't. So if you're in a situation where you like have a budget need for a carry gun, this one right here might be the one you want to carry out in the middle of the night. This one right here, it's just dadgum pretty. So let's go ahead and compare the two of them. Now, both of these are 6-shot. This is a Smith & Wesson L-frame. Both of these are 6-shot. Both of these have 4-inch barrels. Both of these have full underlugs. So this full underlug here actually shrouds your ejector rod. So you don't have to worry about bending your ejector rod during drills or anything like that. Reholstering, it's snag free, and that extra weight helps with the way that these shoot. The recoil impulse on both of these are the same. Of course, this one's just commercially fitted. This one has been hand fitted. This trigger is probably every bit of 13 pounds. My scale doesn't go that high. This one, I guarantee you it's daggum half. This thing is so freaking slick. But now this thing is a heavier trigger pull, which really doesn't come to a detriment. As you can see during the match, I was firing it strong-handed, one-handed, double action only. And I still hit. So even though it's nice and heavy, it didn't hurt anything. Now, one thing that's really cool about this. So the SAR doesn't really have a great, big, huge aftermarket. What's really cool about this, of course, we've established that TK Custom went through and they fit this one for moon clips, right? Well, this one's not fitted for moon clips, so I can't close the cylinder, but what I'm going to show you is that our rounds are spaced the same. So our cylinder is very much the same. Well, the cool thing about that is I found a speed loader that works with the SAR. So you guys that wind up with the SAR and you can't find a speed loader, let me go ahead and take this out of the package so that you can see the details here. This is from Zeta 6, and Zeta 6, focus there, focus. Zeta 6 makes this J-Pack. This is actually for a J-frame Smith & Wesson. But what I'm going to show you, hopefully this cooperates. I don't have a whole lot of ammo with me right now, so I've got some empty casings. But what I was doing during the match was to save time. You know, the guy would tell you, the range officer would tell you to load and make ready. And those are spent shells too. They're expanded too. So what I was doing was just using that to speed load. So I only needed 5 rounds for each stage, but this one actually holds 7. And had these rounds this brass not been expanded and actually had projectiles in it and gave me a point of reference to poke it in, it wouldn't have been that hard. So you do have an option for speed loaders. As for the holster, one of the appeals by having the same holster is I could swap these guns between stages. So I didn't have to constantly take my belt loose, didn't have to constantly wind up taking my holster loose. I could use the same one, and it was nice and convenient. And the RO, I'm sure he saw me changing guns, because he actually, right there at the beginning, he said, "Oh, wheel gun, yeah, real gun," like that.
All right, I like it. Wheel guns are real guns.
So he was paying attention. I'm sure he saw the difference between the flashy and non-flashy, but I didn't have to worry about making him mad. I would go back to the truck, swap the gun, and then come back to the next match. So I was doing it safely away from everybody else. But now, one thing that I did try to do, you know, I mentioned we don't really have an aftermarket for the SAR. So this SR38, with it being that round butt, and this rubber grip here is just basically it's a square butt conversion grip. And I thought, well, shoot, let's try to swap these. Let's go ahead and take this grip and see if it'll fit this. That way, you guys, if you got the SR38, you can just take off and run and be like, "Hey, dadgum, I've got a whole aftermarket of Smith & Wesson." Well, no, there's a small problem. Right here at the bottom of the frame of this grip on the Smith & Wesson, there's a pin that locates these wooden grips. Because otherwise, without those pins, the wooden grips would just kind of rock back and forth. This one has the same pin, but the spacing just isn't exactly right. So you guys that think that maybe you can swap grips, mine didn't fit, none of mine fit. Your mileage may vary. You might find one that you can actually don't mind drilling out or something like that. I didn't find one that I could do that, so I just left the factory grips on the SAR. I thought it would be really neat to present it and be like, hey, yeah, look, they fit, but they don't. Of course, on the Smith & Wesson, we have got an adjustable rear sight and a ramp. Now this ramp, this one being a more expensive model, this ramp actually has an insert. On the SAR, we have the same adjustable rear, which that is a very nice non-glare rear, but now our front was kind of nondescript. I had to throw a little bit of paint on it because it takes just a little bit of flash to bring my eye to a front sight. So that is just a little bit of orange fingernail polish. I'm going to wind up using jig head paint because apparently fishing jig head paint is brighter and more durable. Here's the part where you're going to expect me to pick a winner. Well, the thing is I'm not going to be able to pick a winner because each of these have their own strong points. This one right here, I'm kind of partial to this one because it's been in my collection for the better part of a decade. It is super slick, super sweet, and I hope my kids view it as an heirloom and hang on to it for a while after I'm gone. Now, this one right here, this one, if you're on a budget, if you're just looking for something that is just dummy-proof, something that is freaking tough, this thing's been 100% reliable, and as for the construction of it, I mean, it's very solid. The way that it hinges and everything, it's pretty much the same as the Smith & Wesson. You can feel just a little more play, a little more slop, not a whole lot, but as for the way that this thing works, I mean, it's been 100% reliable. During the match, no hiccups. I had 20 people in my squad. We were running different squads, that way we can get through the thing faster. So 20 people in my squad, the RO, a couple people watching, whatnot. There would have been about 25 people laughing at me if this thing like choked, and it didn't. So that is solid on that part. So for about 600 bones, you know, I told you there's about a $1,100 difference between these two guns. For about 600 bones, I don't think you would go wrong. But now if you're a guy that wants something that's really nice, really flashy, and you got the extra cash to spend, the 686 would be the way to go. You know, the 686 is just a really, really nice piece. I love the way this thing shoots, and oh, that trigger pull, nice and smooth. Dadgum, I love it. So, which one's the best? You tell me in the comment section. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you do, smash that thumbs up. Leave me an awesome comment. I love to go back and forth with you guys in the comment section. Like I said, tell me which one of these you think is better. Also, if you will, check out the links in the Linktree link below. That puts a little bit of money back in the gas tank. Well, not much at all. Puts a little bit of money back in the gas tank and makes it able for me to go to matches and things like this and do head-to-head. I enjoy this. I have a great deal of fun with this. But we'll see you guys next video. Y'all have a wonderful day. I love you.